This Tafim Yerushalmi says Pesachim in the article also addition on the Tafim Zayin Ma'af. You recall, he say we're going to start with Ba B'tumas Oivdin, and like Karmeir says, that's Miriam Nusugya, and that is 13 lines at the bottom of Mem Chesam Beis on the in the Vilna. Ba B'tumas Oivdin. So the way the Mechel Mayim interprets it is that we need a scenario in which the Shkita was Betara, the Basar was Tar, and then Oivdim came and they were Zorek the Dam. Then they were Tomei. And the Gemara gives a scenario. So, Baba Tumas Oivdin, the Oivdin, people doing the Zurich Dam Tomei, Hechavid, what's Ke Shatlu So Bali Mumin. They didn't have any Kohanim Torim, but they had Kohanim Bali Mumin. So the Bali Mumin shechted the Korban, V'Zork Osam, and then it was, the blood was sprinkled by, it says here in the Gemara, we're going to change gears to Korban Ada, who changed it to Tmeim. So, okay. So the question is, who can eat the meat? The meat remained tar. It's because that was done by Tmeim. What's the status here? Rabbi Yehuda said, "Habasar shega b'chol tamei lo yachel." Right, the meat which came into contact with anything which is tamei should not be eaten. Hare lo yibagaba tamei. So somebody who's tummy should not touch the meat. And here nobody's tummy touched the meat because it was shechted by Bali Mumi Toherin, right? So Vabasar kol tahar yochal basar. And the meat, everybody who's tahar should eat the meat. Obviously, these are quotes from Psukim. Hare yashkon taharim shechlu. Their taharim should eat. What's the issue here? Says more. Rabbi Zira says actually a Pesach b'tuma. No, it's not so simple. Since the Pesach which comes b'tuma, v'nechels b'tuma came b'tuma, hacha here kamisha b'tuma. It's like it came b'tuma because the avodah was done by tmeim. So therefore, the basar could be its mutter, not just the term. It could be its mutter tmeim as well because it was naseh. The avodah was done b'tuma. So vayda amar da. It says here vayda amar da amar in the Vilna, but Farshim, I think the Yerushalmi Pesachim takes out the Mem Reish. Let's see what the art scroll does here. He just has Vaida Omar. Okay, usually. No, he says Vaida Omar and then the Omar. That's how he has it, like, as it is stated in the Vilna without fixing it, and I guess in the article as well in the Oz V'Hadar. So, but there was a change to Vaida Omar da. So where do we have the source for this? Or I guess Vaida Omar, then the Omar. I'm just saying the end. So, but it's first one goes off in a bit of a tangent. There's no specific proof here yet. Rishmuel on Rabbi Zir Boyer. Rishmuel on Rabbi Zir asked, "Ba b'tumas hadam." Let's say you have an individual who brings the Korban Pesach, and his dam Pesach becomes Tomei, right? Nobody else's dam is Tomei. His dam Pesach is Tomei. Echavida. So, what's the status now? The way the Mechel Mayim interprets it, explains it, says it's pasha. It would seem to be pasha that he's not yet his obligation. Has to make sure has to do Pesach Sheni, right? So the Gemara says no. Me'acha she'ein matrin lo lizrok. See since we don't allow him to do zrika, but what if he did zrika? We don't allow him to do zrika. So kamisha b'batuma. Right. It says, well, I guess maybe at this point, let's learn like the Korban Eda. I'll take that back a bit. Can't be eaten. Okay, so he can't. His dam became tummy. Can't become eaten. Oh, damn! What do we say? Came Abishai was him zorak kurza. The Evid, if you were zorak the dam, the tzitz is maratza and it's good. How can we should baba taro dam even necha? Maybe here it's also as if it became a tower and it's eaten. So let's say inside again. Since we don't allow him normally to do zorek dam, which is nidma, k'mishabah tuma. Machshu over v'zora kurza, but or do I say since if he was over and it was zorek, it's meratze, k'misha lo ba b'tuma. It's as if it didn't come b'tuma. The language is very difficult, but the way what the Meich HaMayim explains basically is that, of course, we don't allow you to be zorek the dam. But what happens if you were zorek the dam? Now, the dam was tummy. But we have it, you was zorek it, or it's there. Seats. What about the meat now? Right? Does the meat have to eat betara? Or no? This is a Pesach bar betuma where it's not been done betuma, and therefore you can't eat the meat at all. The meat is also to eat. So the shmini minador. Let's start from here. The Rabbi Yeshua said, it says, with the tzitz, Aaron bears the Avon HaKodshim. Avon HaKravim. The Avon HaKravim, which is the Imurim and the Dam. The tzitz is Martza, them, right? Also, Tumas Dam, Imurim, the Komets, and the Sofik Torah, things which are part and parcel of the Avodah. V'lo Avon HaMakrivim, and not the Avon of the Makrivim. So the Korban says, Al Tumas HaKonim en Tzitz Meratze. The Tumah of the Kohanim, the tzitz is not meratze on that. Now the Gemara wants to say that just like the makrivim, on Tumas Kohanim, the tzitz is not meratze. On any ancillary tumah, the tzitz is not meratze, meaning that it's only meratze on tumah which occurs in the process of the avodah, but not anything else. So therefore, it's only matar the kravim during the avodah, not on the makrivim. It's not maritza on that. And also, it's not going to be maritza if you did the avodah with dam tamei, like we said before, by korban yachid, the korban base of yachid, you're not going to be able to eat it. Because it's only maritza on the process of the akrava itself, not on anything else, including not going to be able to eat it. So that was, okay, that's where the yachid, Pesach became, the dam became tamei, and you sprinkle the blood on the mizbech. There's no eating. It's only maratza on the actual avodah, not on achila. Okay, the Gemara is inferring that from the law of makrivim that any ancillary tumah is not included, including the achila, even though the bas is tar and the eichel is tar. They can't eat. So now we come back after all that long digression, and we say, okay, now we have a raya that. To the question which we asked before of Rabbi Hila's question, right? What do we say here by Korban Pesach, where it was Nishcha B'Tara and the Basar Meitar, but it was Nizak Ayidei Tmeim, right? So that's also Avon Makrivim, right? There, so therefore, it's not going to be it can't be you won't be able to. Now, the truth is, it wasn't really Rabbi Hila's question. Rabbi Hila's question was that when it was the bus remained tar, can even but the Tmeim did the avodah, can even the Tmeim eat only Tahorim eat? But now we're saying nobody should eat. So like on base of a Yachid, right? Even he did the Zrika, since the Zrika was done by the Zrika was done Tuma. Yes, it's Hurtza, but you can't eat it, right? So here too you shouldn't be able to eat it all. Says more, no, it's not the same thing. Hefish been craving the Yachid and craving the Tzibur. There's a difference between the craving for a Yachid and the craving for the Tzibur. That by Yachid, it's not. You can't. You can't eat it, right? And l'chadchila we don't let you even bring it. Yeah, but you brought it, hurtza. But That's not the same thing, but tzibur. And let's see it inside. The Gemara explains it. Hakrem liyachid. Okay, the tumah of the craving, meaning the emurim, the dam, etc., they came tummy. Im yesh lo, if he has an alternative korban. Okay, korban says, im yesh korban achor, min lo haveh acher stach, bring another korban. You're an individual, bring another korban. It's no too much of a tzibur. Being lav, and if not, ein matin lezorek dam. We don't let you be zorek the dam. Over v'zorek hurtza. The evidence, if you did do zrikas dam, it's the seeds and matzah, but you can't eat, right? Hamakrivim liyachid, the makrivim, in other words, the when the quantity themselves become tamei. So then, and it's a korban yachid. Ben sheyesh lo, ben she'ein bo, whether he has another korban, doesn't have another korban, you can't bring this one. And if he did bring it, lo tzah, the tzid is not matzah on the tomb of the quantity. Okay, hakrivim letzibur, but what about craving letzibur? In other words, Korban Pesach or other korbanos which come betuma. Im yesh, if he has another one, so then which another way to do it, betara, we say do it. But havei, bim lav, and if not though, but since tuma u'tra b'tzibur, matirun lo lizog b'tchila, we allow him to do this because tam l'chatchila, right? And since tumah tzibur, it should, and it's not the same parameters as where you need the tzitz. It's not the way we put it lumdishly. It's not the chuya, it's hutra, right? Since it's not just a limited dispensation, it's a total license. So therefore, also makrivin l'tzibur. If the tumah happened in the makrivim, right, such as in the case of tumah b'tzibur. So then too, ben sheyesh lo, ben she'ein, whether he has alternative or doesn't have alternative, since tumah b'tzibur over v'zar kurza. So if you have it, if you're over in v'zar, it's matzah, and it could be it's matzah even to the point. Again, since we have this total license that even the tmei, the basar, even though the basar itself didn't become tamei. So Rabbi Lezer rejects this. When do we say tuma b'tzibur? When there's carte blanche, a free license to do things to eat b'tuma. When it came to tuma b'shar rishona, im b'tara, but it became b'tara like the case we had before, right? And then v'nitma, and then later on became tamei, right? So the although there's not an answer about nizak adam b'dei tameim, there's no to say about where it became tamei. The bus became tummy. Yeah, so it's not necessarily comparable to the case before. This became the tummy afterwards. And nechel b'tuma, then it's not nechel b'tuma. Okay, now, so what about the following case? Shachto b'tara. You shechted b'tara. V'nigma tzibur. And then the tzibur became tummy. Like a case where the Nasi died and they all went to Levaya. There was some other mass tumah event. So, Shachta b'tara v'nitma tzibur. So the yizorik adam b'tara, then the blood should be thrown on the mizbech by kohanim tarim if there are. V'ayochar basar b'tuma, and the meat cannot be eaten b'tuma. Okay, we'll come to alternative cases in a minute. But says the Gemara, Rabbi Levish and Yochanan said. Rabbi Nassi, this is going like Rabbi Nassi. Rabbi Nassi, Yoitzim Bezrika. Yoitzim Bezrika are going to change the case like the Korban Eda instead of Avol below Achila. If Yoitzim Bezrika, the Korban Pesach, even though you can't eat it. So, in this case, we go on and we do the Zrika, even though we know that you're not going to be able to eat the Korban Pesach. Okay, now, next case. Shachta B'tara, Yeshach B'tara. V'nit Mahadam, and the dam was tummy, and also it says hatzibur, the Korban says to v'hatzibur. Okay, so there's nobody around now to do this because tam b'tara here. Before we had somebody do it, now we can't. Yizorik tam b'tuma. So the dam it should be I mean it's not around because the dam is tummy anyway. So in other words, there's no such thing as dam b'tara. Okay, so the dam is that's the difference. Not so tzibur is because again tummy the case before. Here, the dam became tummy, so there's no way to do it b'tara, right? So it says zarka tam b'tuma. Still do the tzibur tam b'tuma, but nevertheless, ayuchal basar betuma. You can't eat the basar betuma. Now this Rabbi Yechon says name maris ayin. He says that it says in this case, it's not a counter Rabbi Nosson that you're yotze without achila, but it's kind of maris ayin. Shelo yom, when people say Reinu Pesach ba b'tara, that people say we saw Pesach came b'tara because it started out being processed b'shchita, and it says here v'nizrak. But it should be v'nechal betuma. Okay, so it's marasayin dikadei. Since at the time of Zrika there was no way to do it betara, so therefore tuma b'tzibur should kick in, and they should be eat betuma. Why do they eat betuma? Not because of Rabbi Nosson, but because of marasayin. Because of what people are going to say, well, it's a shechte betara, so therefore we're allowing you to eat pesach ba betara betuma. And that's the problem. The Maris Ayin issue. Where it says, wait a second, Me'at, if that's the case, if you're afraid of Maris Ayin, lo yizrek adam betuma. Don't do zrikas dam either. If you're not saying it's Rabbi Nosson, but you're saying it's Maris Ayin take issue, so then you shouldn't do zrikas dam betuma either. People shouldn't say, Rinu Pesach shabba betar v'nizrek betuma. People shouldn't say, we saw a Pesach which came betara, and then the zrikas dam was done betuma. Same Marasayin issue. Why would you just bar the Achila, also bar the Zrika? So Gemara says, you have to say, you're right, we're not this price, so it's not Choshesh Marasayin. Where he said that you do the Zrika that was Shechte B'tara, you could do the Zrika Sadam B'tuma, then and then Nitma B'dam Tzibur Yizarek Adam Matuma, that is not going like there's no Maris. It can be going with Maris Ayin issue because it was Maris Ayin issue. It should be Maris Ayin issue. It's going like Rabbi Nosson. That everybody's going to get us and holds that you can do the Zvika Saddam even though there's no Achila and you're yotze to the Korban Pesach. Okay, so once the topic of Rabbi Nosson, so the Gemara says, "Mod Rabbi Nosson b'chol v'zokin." Rabbi Nosson's that if the chabura was cholim and zkanim who can't eat, then they can't shecht. It's very similar to the sort of kol roy lebila ein bila makeres bo kol she'en roy lebila kol roy lebila ein bila makeres bo kol she'en roy lebila bila makeres bo. In other words, if they're right to eat, they're not cholim and zkanim. So even if they can't eat, it's okay. The do is because Nam and the Korban Pesach is Hurtza and the Yotze Korban Pesach, but the Eved, even though there's no Achila. But if they're not right to eat, so then that doesn't work. They're not the Kol Shein Bila ain't Bila Makebet. So if you can't actually do it, so then even Rabbi Nosson agrees you can't be Makeb the Korban Pesach. Similarly, Rabbi Nosson's Moida he b'chabura shenit. I'm not sure the word he seems to be superfluous here. I don't know if anybody takes that, but that's he b'chabura shenit ba'evet shelo. If the coin becomes tamei shenit chen pesach sheni korban, it says b'nit ba'evet shelo kamashima shoichet haPesach. The team b'asar b'shar shchita shem l'achila and shenit chen pesach sheni. So again, has to be royal. It's a similar idea. It has to be royal l'achila at the time of the shchita, at least, and otherwise then it doesn't work. It has to be the nidchel based on sheni. This is obviously about not too much of tzibur. Oived shalah, right? That the person who's avoided for that chabura. It says to be a bolus boera. Of course, if there's a chabura which you have it turns out there was a belus in the wart in the high of the Korban Pesach, so the mum is puzzle. That of course then the nidche Pesach sheni. Okay, the Mora says chamesh. Wants to type in chaburas. Chamesh chaburas shenistarvu oros pischeim. You have 5 chaburas which shechten, and then their hides became mixed in. And one of them had a wart which made it bamum. Kulan Yetzer Beis HaSreifa. They all got the Beis HaSreifa. Uptuin Masos Pesach Sheni, but they're exempt doing Pesach Sheni. So Savri Maimer wanted to say that the Rabbi Nassim, it must be Rabbi Nassim, right? Because it's clearly Yotzi Kohen Pesach by Achila, because you weren't able to eat it because you found in one of the hides there was mum, so nobody can eat the Kohen Pesach because we don't know whose hide it was. So Tipatev Divrei Kol says, well, no, there could be working about according to everybody, even Kohen Rabbanan. The Mechamai changes the next line to from Bimitame to the word, not the line, from Bimitame to Kimitame, Besavik Kever Atohim. So again, Tame with a Savik Kever Atohim, Besavik Kever, which nobody knew about. So 2 months of time is where the Kever which only knew about. There's a special dispensation which we haven't learned, but yeah, we're going to have it later in the parak. We get to Halacha Zayin. So we're on the beginning of Halacha Zayin. So it's kind of it's kind of like an onus, right? Like onus on patre. So something the 2 months of time is something which nobody could have known about because it was a mace buried deep down and nobody ever heard of him before. And you find afterwards, even between the Zvika Saddam and the Achila, that there was a tummy became tummy with Tumas Suffix here doesn't mean it's a suffix. Tumas is actual. That's the suffix. It's Tumas is the suffix, not suffix on Tumas but the suffix of Tumas. So it's a special dispensation. It's kind of like an onus, Rechona Patre. So here too, the Gemara says that these Oros Pischem, which got mixed up, it's like a special onus. Even though could have known about it, one of them had the Abellas should have known about it, but I guess maybe because it's like total, because Pesach there's so much mass confusion, maybe some other reason. But he's saying the Gemara wants to say that the mixture of the Oros after everything else was done properly, that's at least in 4 of the 5 groups, it is like an onus. But yes, even the 5th group is somehow to be part of this onus. So it's kind of like Zil Hakka who's not going to be the onus, I don't know. Or maybe because the Abellas is such that it's not necessarily going to be caught because there's so much going on. Who knows? But in any event, the Gemara says that it's a special dispensation of onus, even like Rabbanon, who normally don't let you bring a Korban Pesach without Achila. Here, where it's Nisar at the time you checked it and did this week of Saddam, you thought it was fine. It's like afterwards the Tumas, when you find about Tumas Tom onus, we say okay, you're to Korban Pesach, even though it was not suitable for Achila. So to Kim Korban Rabbanon, so to here you can you'll be your Korban Pesach, and even though I'm afraid that one of them was called apostle, doesn't matter. So it's Korban Pesach, and they don't have to make Pesach Sheni. It's a very big Kiddush, but that's looking at like this kind of onus, just like Tumas at home. Okay, next few words. Carbon Nosin Zorg is them. The carbon Ada takes it out. The article also takes it out. The other unfortunate try and leave it in. The Mecha Mayim wants to say it's as if it should say the locain. If you're not going to say it's going like Divrei Hakol, you're going to say like Carbon Nosin Zorg is Adam. You're going to say Carbon Nosin could be Zorg is Adam. Even them Nisari before Zvika. Right, the one with the Abellas with the other 4, even decided before Zvika, going to be able to do the Zvika because you don't need Achila. Obviously, now you can't do that. So it must be talking about it's the Sarab Achar Zvika, and it's going like everybody because at that point it's like Everton because again there's some sort of onus involved at the time of the Zvika. I don't know exactly how to define it, like we said, but something like that. Okay. New suge. Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Shua say, "Kosver Chomer, Ach b'shor shor or b'chor kesef b'chor eis v'gomer." So that's one pasuk. The other pasuk says, "Because Chomer v'zar kohen es adam amizbach Hashem." There's in the Vilna it says Pesach Pei Sameches. but it's supposed to be Pesach Pei Tuf Ches. Okay, so Pesach Pesach Omoed at the opening Omoed. B'Chev L'Reach Nichoach. Hashem. So it's a little bit cryptic from the Gemara itself. So the Karbaneh says, "Apachor Shav V'Chuli Es Damonti Zog Chabam Taktir Saram Yelucha." Right. So it says Chabam and Besoram. Masha Ein Zog Zadam Kini Shchel B'Basar. Sounds like you only do Zog Zadam and Shchel B'Basar. Shomar V'Zar Kohen said Dam V'Chuli B'Ktir HaChelev Loksi Basar. Other Basar says leaves out Basar. So maybe by Ma'imir Ches brings out Chelev and Basar. We could say leaves out Basar. So mash b'chel b'api she'en sham basar zoregas adam. So how do we reconcile the two psukim? I say says this. We reconcile saying an she'esham o basar chil o imun laktir. So we've already said this principle that either or is a reason enough to bring the korban. If you have, we're not talking about Pesach, obviously we're talking about other korbanos. If you have either chelev or basar, you can do this because of them, and that's cool. Unlike Korban Pesach, where, except Korban Nasan, maybe, you might need to have, and even then it's not clear, but because Korban Nasan also, there are parameters, remember the Kol Roy Labila thing, but there you need to have, need to have a basar chil. Chil is not enough, but by the other korbanos, either chil or basar is enough. You can do this because of them. Okay, the story obviously continues, but we're already on Aleph, so therefore we will stop here for today.